Hello and welcome to our second session of the First Look Exploring session. It's not going to be complicated at all. Of the travels of the three English brothers by three different people who are basically, whose names I've promptly forgotten. Because we don't entirely trust Wikipedia, though the academic community probably know this as well. So the three possible probably writers of this play are John Day, George Wilkins, and William Rowley. And this was printed in 1607. And if you want to know what happened, I am not going to do a summary because I can remember what happened. It's very complicated and very fighty. And put it in one word, shenanigans, but also a tour of the Mediterranean, it seems, with a sort of detour in Persia and pretty much everywhere else we can think of, except maybe Brazil. I don't know. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that coffee was discovered later. Anyway, so
a little bit, but not much.
Yeah, true. What was I saying? Yes, please. If you want to watch if you want to know what happened, you've probably seen the previous video, hopefully. Otherwise, we will pick up from scene 8 of this play. And reading the play with me today, I'm Eric, by the way, in case you've forgotten since the previous video, because I do. I forgot my birthday this morning. Not today. It wasn't today, but I was trying to write it on a piece of paper and I forgot my birthday. So, yeah, it's that kind of day. It's been a long day. It's been a long life. I'll be quiet now and introduce these wonderful readers. So, reading the Turk, a servant, and Halybeck, and a niece, we have.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu and I'm an author based in the southeast of England.
And reading, I was going to read the Sir Thomas, Harlaken, and Robert, not Robert, our Robert, but the other Robert.
My name is Alexandra, and I heard that there were pirates in this place, so I am here for the naval battle.
Actually, technically, the naval battle didn't already happen, but there might be more. Yeah. Reading Sir Anthony, Calimath, and a Jailor, we have.
Briony Sparrow, actor and pirate in Lincolnshire.
Yes. You put that on your CV. Yeah. Reading Gentleman, Sophy, Fame, and a messenger for most of the play.
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm not a pirate. I'm a teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
Pirate, teacher, same thing, maybe. And
not
yeah. You conquer new territory every day. It's fine. Reading, I've had too much coffee. Reading Bassa, Kemp, and Zariph, and Hermit, we have.
Alan coming out of his shell, inside.
And I am, as I said, Eric, and I'll be reading pretty much everything else, which includes Venetians, an agent, English agents, I think, a prologue or something. A player's prologue, and the messenger for scene 11, so people don't have to talk to themselves and stuff. And also pretty much everything else, like stage directions. So, taking a breath. And without further ado, and hoping Lynn's allergies allow her to speak.
Right.
Yeah, we're beginning from scene 8. Enter a Turk and Bassa's or Pasha's attendants. Or Pasha.
Thus like the sun in his meridian pride, attended by a regiment of stars, stand we triumphant amongst our petty kings. Upon the highest prominent of either globe, that heaves his forehead nearest to the clouds, fix we our foot, and with our eagle's wings canopy o'er 3/4 of the world, and yet we write, non ultra, the proud Sophy, the Persian beggar that by starts invades us, our potent army, like so many wolves, let loose into a flock of fenceless sheep, shall bait and worry home into their folds, whilst fate and conquest our high state upholds.
Yet, mighty and magnificent, your powers in this late conflict against Persia have met much loss.
Base and degenerate coward, are not we Hamath, the sole god of earth, king of all kings, provost of paradise, Soldan and emperor of Babylon, of Catharia, Egypt, Antioch, lord of the precious stones of India, a champion and defender of the gods, prince and conductor from the withered tree to the green bosom of Achaia Mount, the joy and comfort of great Mahomet, and last, protector of the sepulchre, of Jewry's god and crucified king, and dares the Persian compare it with us? What and from whom?
And on that note, enter a messenger.
The Christian general Shirley the Great sends you his mild salute. In this his late yet bleeding overthrow, where men like grass stepped to the street of death. 20 most choice and valorous commanders he has given life to, and in fair exchange tenders them for the life and liberty of an imprisoned English gentleman.
20 for one, what is the Christian's name?
I know not that.
How shall we know to free him?
His stature and proportion is given me by prescription so directly as from 1,000 I can point him out.
Conduct him in, and bring the prisoner forth. He is sure some prince, or else a man of worth, that in exchange of him the general proffers so largely. Now, is this the man?
Enter with Sir Thomas Shirley in bands.
The same, great emperor.
Then, Christian, for by no other title can we call thee, acquaint us with thy parentage and name. For from the Christian general Shirley the Great, we have means that labour thy delivery.
Great Emperor, I am a man whose birth and mean attempts were never registered among the English worthies. If great Shirley hath aught proposed for my delivery, 'twas in a general zeal to Christendom, not any private notice of my worth.
Dissemble not. For subtle Englishmen, we rather judge, nay, absolutely know, thou either art allied to him by birth, or some great prince, which till thou dost confess, thy torment shall be more, thy freedom less. As for our captains, let them live or die, the Christian shall in slavish irons lie. Be gone with that, and back with him to prison, double his irons, and take back half his diet. Strengthen our powers, and bravely to the field, our breasts with iron, our spirits with fire are steeled.
Exeunt.
Come, sir. Had not you better confess and be hanged than be starved to death and hanged after?
I'm armed with patience. Tyrants' hate is bounded within limits. They may will, but there's a God that can prevent their ill. That power I ground on. Here's my greatest cross. A brother's love turns to a brother's loss. My journey towards heaven, fate sent me hither. You, like kind guides, send me the next way thither.
I will send you the nearest way, but because you shall not be hungry. I'll diet you with puddle water and bran. You will be the lighter to take your journey.
And they exit. End scene. I was going to run into scene 9 because scene 9 is a lot longer, but then, I mean, any thoughts? I feel like Alexandra is already regretting this decision of sort of being the starved brother of the three thus far.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this with absolutely no context as to what's happened in the rest of the play other than shenanigans. It's funny that he's presented before what I understand is the Sultan, the Turkish Sultan, and just kind of told the Shirley is trying to save you, is laboring for your delivery, and he just goes, yeah, that's not because we're related or anything.
it's just solidarity in Christendom and so on and so forth. Totally not my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a reason why Sir Thomas is kind of hiding his identity?
Basically, he was captured, and his other brother is currently pretending not to know him. The brother who's trying to rescue him basically is trying not to know him, or pretending not to know him, so that because his fate will be death, because he's been fighting the Turks. Hence, they don't want to die. I think that was the logic there. I'm not entirely sure.
Right. I'm not a war hero. I'm totally anonymous. I'm harmless.
Yeah.
And cheap. Sell me back. Yes, I get it.
I'm nobody. Just this sword isn't even mine. Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts before we move on? It was a short scene, so there's only so much we can sort of. Yeah. Sorry, Elizabeth. Yeah. And
how pompous was the Turk? It was just like, I am the greatest. I started getting like Jafar vibes from like Aladdin. I was like, how pompous can you possibly be in a single scene, in a short scene?
Yeah. To be fair, you do get the whole, like, I mean, in a lot of, maybe not letters, but at least in sort of traditional, if you've read like historic fiction and stuff, or letters addressed to sultans or to people of greatness, you get the whole Lord Sultan, Lord of heaven and earth, and that kind of sort of grandeur. So it kind of made sense for me. That bit made sense, but I do like all the sort of adjectives, like Lord of the precious sons of India, and by the time you get through all that, it's like a bit, he might actually leave by the point you get to the end of that sentence.
Yeah, if this is, I mean, it's just to quickly add, this is very appropriate to the period, to specifically the Ottoman Sultan, but also it's not like the English were doing any less. Henry, by the grace of God, king of so and place, defender of the faith, nephew to someone important, guardian of the sacred cat, all of that stuff. So it's not, unprecedented.
Of course not. Also, the curious thing was that they were saying in the first, I think it was the first scene, or second scene, I can't remember. I don't know the order anyway. That there was, at the time of, because you were asking about, before we started recording, you asked about like when this is set. We don't actually know when it's set, but the thing is, we've spoken to the Pope in Rome, and that didn't seem, and kissed his sort of hand, foot, kneeling, blah, blah. So that seemed to get past the censors at the time of printing. But also what was I going to say? In the text, it does actually say, there is a princess reigning in England, and I don't know which princess. So if any thoughts as to that? Sorry, Lynn.
Would have been Elizabeth, but which was, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years before the play was printed. So maybe it was the very tail end of her reign when the play was written.
Yeah, probably. I was going to say something else.
I'm working things out in my head to try and figure out which Sultan and which Safavids are being represented, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, history doesn't matter if you're watching a play. It's the detail. I mean, come on. I'll diet you with puddle, water, and bran. That's great. I mean, great lines in there. I did like the jailer, although he seems very chipper for his job. It's like, yes, let's do this. Trying to cheer up Sir Thomas by going, you could just be hanged and get it over with rather than starve yourself to death. Yeah. Any other thoughts before we continue? Yeah, I feel like I've been talking a lot. Anyway, scene 9. Enter Sir Anthony Shirley, a gentleman, and his servants give him letters.
That into England, that to Persia. And now, dear friend, what tidings at St. Mark's?
Like to men's minds, distract and variable, you have heard your brother's bloody overthrow given to the Turks.
It came to me last night. What news from England?
Nothing of import. The youngest and the greatest grows up here at hand.
Aught that concerneth me?
About the jewel, it fills the town with admiration, that which great princes for the worth deny, but you, a lord ambassador, should buy.
'Twas for the Sophy, and I wonder much he sends not in the cash.
The Jew expects it.
And here he comes. Good morrow, honest Zariph.
Enter Zariph the Jew.
Hebrew God and sanctified King, bless them that cast kind greetings at the Jew.
I owe thee money, Zariph.
That's the cause of your kind speech. Christian spaniel claws and fawns for gain. Jest on, deride the Jew, you may. Vexed Zariph will not jest with you. Now, by my soul, 'twould my spirits much refresh to take a banquet, all of Christians' flesh.
I must entreat thee of forbearance, Zariph.
No, not now. You had my jewel, I must have your gold.
Let me entreat thee, Zariph, for my sake, that have stood friend to all thy brethren.
You have indeed, but for this other fast, you sold my brother Zachary like an horse, his wife and children a common outcry.
That was the law.
And I desire no more, and that I shall have, though the Jew be poor, he shall have law for money.
Nay, but Zariph, I am like thee, a stranger in the city. Strangers to strangers should be pitiful.
If we be cursed, we learned of Christians who like to swine crush one another's bones.
Is it a sin in them? 'Tis sin in you.
But they are Christians. Zariph is a Jew, the crucifying hangman trained in sin, one that would hang his brother for his skin.
But till tomorrow.
Well, you shall not say, but that a Jew will bear you with you a day. They take not for kindness, but disgrace, to show that Christians are than Turks more base. They'll not forbear a minute. There's my hand. Tomorrow night shall serve to clear your band.
I thank thee and invite thee to a banquet.
No banquets yet, I thank you with my heart, and vow to play the Jew. Why, 'tis my part.
Enter a servant.
Sir, here's an Englishman desires access to you.
Englishman? What's his name?
He calls himself Kemp.
Enter Kemp.
Kemp, bid him come in. Welcome, honest Will. How doth all thy fellows in England?
Who's Kemp?
Sorry.
I'm not Kemp, am I?
I beg your pardon. Why, like good fellows, when they have no money, live on credit.
And what good new plays have you?
Many idle toys, but the old play that Adam and Eve acted in bare action under the fig tree draws most of the gentlemen.
Jesting, Will.
In good earnest it doth, sir.
I partly credit thee, but what play of note have you?
Many of name, some of note, especially one. The name was called England's Joy. Marry, he was no poet that wrote it. Drew more conies in a purse net than ever were taken at any draft about London.
Enter a servant again.
Sir, here's an Italian Harlaken come to offer a play to your lordship.
We willingly accept it. Hark, Kemp, because I like thy jester and thy mirth, let me request thee play a part with them.
I am somewhat hard of study and like your honour, but if they will invest any extemporal merriment, I'll put out the small sack of which I have left, in venture with them.
They shall not deny it. Signor Harlaken, he is content. I pray thee question him.
And they whisper.
Now, senor, how many are you in company?
None but my wife and myself, sir.
Your wife? I argue, will your wife do tricks in public?
My wife can play.
The honest woman, I make no question, but how if we cast a horse part or a courtesan?
Oh, my wife is excellent at that. She practiced it ever since I married her. It is her only practice.
But by your leave, and she were my wife, I'd rather keep her out of practice a great deal.
Yet, since 'tis the custom of the country, prithee, make one, conclude upon the project. We neither look for scholarship nor art, but harmless mirth, for that's thy usual part.
And he exits.
You shall find me no turncoat, but the project come, and then into casting of parts.
Marry, sir, first we will have an old pantaloon.
Some jealous coxcomb,
Right, and that part will I play.
the jealous coxcomb.
I have played that part ever since.
Your wife played the courtesan.
Yeah. True, and a great while afore. Then I must have a peasant to my man, and he must keep my wife.
Your man and a peasant keep your wife? I've known a gentleman keep a peasant's wife, but 'tis not usual for a peasant to keep his master's wife.
Oh, it is common in our country.
And he offers, Kemp offers to kiss the Harlequin's wife.
And I'll maintain the custom of the country.
What do you mean, sir?
Why, to rehearse my part on your wife's lips. We're fellows, and amongst friends and fellows, you know, all things are common.
But she shall be no common thing. If I can keep her several, then, sir, we must have an amorado that must make me cornuto.
Oh, for love's sake, let me play that part.
No, ye must play my man's part and keep my wife.
Right. And who's so fit to make a man a cuckold as he that keeps his wife?
You shall not play that part.
What say you to my boy?
He may play it, and you will.
But he cannot make you jealous enough.
Dash, I warrant you, I can be jealous for nothing.
You should not be a true Italian else.
Then we must have a Magnifico that must take up the matter betwixt me and my wife.
Anything of yours, but I'll take up nothing of your wives.
I wish not you should, but come on, come. Now am I your master.
Right, and I, your servant.
Lead the way, then.
No, I have more manners than so. In our country, it's the custom of the master to go in before his wife, and the man to follow the master. To his mistress.
Ye are in the right.
Way to Cuckold's Haven. St. Luke, be your speed.
And they exit. I have no idea what just happened. I mean, obviously we're in Italy or Venice or something, but then like, what? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, apparently Will Kemp has entered the play, possibly after his 9 days of dancing or whatever that was. I don't know when. To tell us about the news in England.
And also to cuckold a random Italian entertainer. Because my comedy is better than your comedy. Actually, speaking of which, wasn't Kemp trained in commedia or sort of famed to have had some sort of experience in Italy of training with Italian, in the Italian styles or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is not an insane historical reference. It's actually the historical reference.
But it's just like they've been airdropped in from another play. I mean, meta theatricality is, of course, it's on our bingo card in like 3 places, but this play has been actually not especially meta theatrical up to this point, really at all. And then all of a sudden, like, we have Will Kemp, who probably, I don't know, he was either recently dead or he died the year this was written, so
Maybe they owed him money or something, or I don't know, royalties. I don't know.
Yeah.
Briony has thoughts as well. So after Lynn, Briony, and then Alan.
Yeah. I can't. I have nothing to. I got nothing.
I really enjoyed it. It was random, but I'm quite a random person. And I propose that whoever wrote that scene also had a big hand in the scene with the niece in the first half, because it was that same feeling of fun that was in there. But this, I don't know whether it was the slightly racist Italian portrayal, but I don't know, it kind of gave me slightly Punch and Judy vibes, this scene as well. Something about the wife and the bawdy jokes but it's just so much fun. And just when it gets a bit too sausage waving for me, in plops a random scene and I'm back in the room. It's great.
Yeah. Alexandra, then
Just a tiny addition to that, to Briony's point, is this does come immediately after a Jewish character with an Arabic name being racist about Jewish people.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a very strong contrast.
Alan, you were going to.
Yeah, the feeling I'm getting is almost someone has gone through recent theatrical history. Oh, right. Battles go well. Costume and tableau go well. We'll have a bit of, Will Kemp. Yes, he was always good box office. Fighty action. How many more boxes do we want to tick to get the box office up, chaps?
Yeah, I think also...
plot? What's that about?
Plot, schmott, whatever. Did I say that? Yes, I did. I think also, I can see Elizabeth has thoughts, but I think also we've had this kind of thing like in inductions in the middle of the play where we've had characters like sort of vying for attention and arguing over random things. And Elizabeth.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I feel like these last two scenes gives us some like clues as to how the play was put together. Because Alan was just remarking on the tick box exercise of like, oh, let's put this in, let's put that in. Oh, I've just seen this and I thought it was great, so let's throw that in the play as well. And it feels to me like it was pieced together from a group of scenes each written by a different author, but they blended it really. I feel like it blends in really well. It doesn't jar. It's not like it's jarring, like, oh my gosh, when that scene. It's not jarring. It's just, it's like WTF, but you can accept it within the world of the play. And again, Briony mentioned the word fun, and I was talking about yesterday about how it was like humorous and kind of witty. And again, I find that really just a lovely contrast to the subject matter of the text compared to how it's been presented. I like it a lot.
Yes, Briony.
I think there's just enough plot in this as well. And personally, I don't know about anyone else, but I am much more interested in whether the niece gets her man and whether Will Kemp is going to somehow cuckold this Italian guy in the proceeds of putting on a little parlour play. I'm way more interested in that than what happens to the Shirley brothers.
Yeah, I think they were trying to cover their bases. As for the Jewish character, I was going to say that he has some very interesting lines, like stuff like, when Sir Anthony offers him banquets and stuff, and he talks about like to taste the banquet all of Christian's flesh, and it's like that's not going to be weird at all. Yeah. Characters to hate, possibly in early modern plays, I'm guessing. Briony.
Yeah, but it was really over-egged, the evil Jew thing. So I'm wondering whether or not it is, in a way, mocking people that demonize Jews almost, because it was like a pantomime villain. The level, it was so thickly laid on for him, and then all the talk of these cannibalistic metaphors and similes and stuff. I don't know. I just feel like, and because it hasn't been particularly overtly racist in other places, this play, I just wonder whether or not that is meant to be a caricature that is mocking I suppose maybe, yeah, it does say Zariph the Jew is in the next scene. Maybe I'm going to regret everything that's just come out of my mouth. It's just going to get worse and worse.
I mean,
who knows?
we'll see.
Let's find out. Tune in now for potentially more anti-Semitism.
All trigger warnings available, and some more for sides. Definitely. I was just going to say that if it is a pantomime, can we have like the three brothers with like really long moustaches, and that's the thing that sort of unifies them as brothers. Anyway, random, I know, but it just making the main characters as funny as possible would help, I think. Elizabeth, yeah.
And if it's a pantomime, can we have the three brothers in drag, please?
Of course. I mean, we need a dame as well. Duh. Yeah. So, any other thoughts before we move? Before we ruin the? No, I'm kidding. I think the play's doing okay.
Not ruining. This is major improvement. What are you talking about?
This is very true. Although we've not read the whole thing, so we don't know if it's an improvement yet. So we'll find out in a minute. Scene 10. Enter Zariph, a Jew.
100,000 ducats, sweet remembrance. I'll read it again. 100,000 ducats. Sweeter still. Who owes it? Christian. Canaan's brood. Honey to my joyful soul. If this sum fail, my bond unsatisfied, he's in the Jew's mercy. Mercy? The lice of Egypt shall devour them all, ere I show mercy to a Christian. Unhallowed brats, seed of the bondwoman, swine devourers, uncircumcised slaves, that scorn our Hebrews' sanctimonious writ, despise our laws, profane our synagogues, old Moses' ceremonies, to whom was left the marble decalogue twice registered by high Jehovah's self. Lawless wretches, one I shall gripe, break he but his minute, heaven grant he may want money to defray. Oh, how then I'll embrace my happiness, sweet gold, sweet jewel, but the sweetest part of a Jew's feast is a Christian's heart. Who's there? A friend, good news.
Enter Halybeck.
Zariph the best, the Christian is thine own. I'll sell him to thee at an easy rate. It shall but cost thy pains, joined with a heart, relentless as a flint, that with more strokes reverberates his anger with more fire. I know it's thine, I'm sure 'tis my desire.
It is. Sweeten my longing hopes, for charity give me the happy means.
He should discharge thy bond tonight?
He should, but I hope he cannot.
He cannot. The money he expected from the Sophy, myself have intercepted by the way. 'Tis to him unknown, given to my hands, and ere this shall aid him.
He shall die with gore, as poor and loathsome as was leprous Job, sink down with Dathan to heaven, hell's black abyss. A Christian's torture is a Jew's bliss. For a further execution, say.
Sit at his banquet with a smiling cheek. Let him run out his prodigal expense. To the full length the beggar has a hand, as free to spread his coin as the swollen clouds throw down their watery pillage, which from the sea the misty pirates fetch. Then seize on him, defer not this night. Vengeance in the height of mirth, gall's deepest, like a fall from heaven to earth.
Oh, that one, thou wert one of the promised seed, to sleep with blessed Abraham when thou diest. For this good news, here shall be cannibals, that shall be ready to tear him piecemeal and devour him raw, throw him in the womb of unpitied misery, the prison. There let him starve and rot, his dungeon cry. To Zara's care it shall be sweet harmony.
It is enough. Determine, follow it. Myself will presently back to Persia. And by the way, I will invent such tales as shall remove the Sophie's further love, ere any stranger shall with me walk even. I'll hate him, were his virtues writ in heaven.
Music somewhere in the background.
The music says the banquet is at hand.
Enter Sir Antony, some Venetians and others with the banquet.
Let us abridge the office of our breath, to give to each of you a several welcome. I do beseech ye, take it all at once. Ye are all welcome. Now I pray ye sit.
We'll not strive for first.
'Tis more used than fit.
This sweet music is heaven's rhetoric. Art was first revealed to Tubal Cain. Good Hebrew, 'tis now forgot. 'Tis gone stale. Newfangled ages make old virtues fail.
So much the Hebrew writ doth testify, yet are there different to that opinion? The Grecians do allow Pythagoras, the Thracians give it to their Orpheus, as first inventors of the harmony.
All errors. Tubal, Hebrew, Tubal.
But howsoever, we'll hold no dispute. Our attention is tied to some other sport.
Enter a player, prologue. Our act is short, your likings are gains, so we offend not, we are paid our pains.
No more of this, we'll have a Jew's jig. It's your business, delay not.
Enter sergeants and take hold on Sir Antony.
What means this violence?
We'll not stand upon interrogatories. Away with him.
Jew,
Christian, away with him.
hear me.
In prison, I'll listen to laugh at thee.
Be merciful.
Merciful?
No, not to me. I scorn to ask it of thee, but to thine own black soul be merciful, inhuman dog, that in midst of courtesy dost yoke me in a serpent's arm. True seed of that kiss-killing Judas, can thy black soul have hope of pity, being pitiless?
Pray for thyself. I am saved already.
Halybeck, does not your eye discover a treacherous heart in this?
Ha! Ha!
Dost laugh at me?
Sir, be comforted. Venice shall not see your fortunes long oppressed for a greater matter than these.
I am not moved, sir. It hath not emptied the least pipe of blood that are within my cheeks. Only this is all that wraps my senses in astonishment. In all my travels I ne'er saw hell till now. 'Tis here true portrayed, set in open view, in an envious knave and a bloody Jew.
And they exit with him.
There, rot and starve, starve and rot. Oh, my delight. I shall dream of this happiness tonight.
And he exits.
To Persia now, while Shirley here sinks low, there Halybeck above his height shall grow.
And exit Halybeck. Well, that went. Briony, would you like to revise your statement about
To
how?
be fair, no, I stick by what I said because they carried on being extremely overtly offensive with this Jew character, and I can only hope that it's meant to be a caricature because it's just gone right off the deep end. If it's not, I don't know what's wrong with the playwrights.
To be fair, I don't know if he actually reappears. So yeah, I don't know what they're doing here. Yeah. Any thoughts, Alexandra?
I really love the exchange of insults that goes Jew, which was considered an insult, to which is the response comes Christian, as equivalent. Love it so much. And in the context of how people are behaving at the moment, I feel like it's hugely appropriate. And my other thought was that we can no longer avoid the cannibalism, the references to cannibalism. We were in the chat mentioning them before, and we never got to that. But Yeah, they're outright now.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if there's anything we can do about them. And yeah, it's kind of. I do like how Sir Anthony's like, I'm not afraid of you. Just sort of, I trusted you. You were my friend. But yeah, sorry, Briony.
Just you may have noticed, anyone that's watching this video or anyone that's in the room may have noticed, again, to just add to my theory about the Jewish character in this, that speech at the start was just so like, Pyramid of Doom, evil contemplation. It was like every supervillain ever.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's kind of that thing of
White cat was on holiday.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
And the fact they've dialed up all of these cannibal metaphors more for this character as well. It's just, I just think they've gone all out on it.
Yeah. Yep. They're I guess. I'm trying to sorry, Alexandra.
Question about the music and why. And what is actually going on in this scene? Because there's a lot of I'm not sure I'm understanding the Halybeck Zariph relationship. So you guys who have been around might be able to enlighten us better. And also what is going on with this sudden music and banquet.
Well, I think supposedly the whole pretense is that they're kind of going to have a banquet with entertainment, as mentioned, as sort of, maybe planned in the previous scene, not quite clarified, with Harlaken, I can almost speak. But I think the whole point is Halybeck, who is brother to Calimath, who are both Persians in this, are kind of basically starting to hate the Shirley brothers separately, but also as a sort of thing. And Zariph being sort of the two-faced Jew, as per usual, the stereotype, is basically selling out sort of what do you call it, Sir Anthony for money or whatever. I think. I don't know. Any other thoughts about this? Because I'm not entirely sure. I followed it, but then I was like, And the Venetians sort of jumping in, going, "It's fine. It will be fine. We will help you." And that felt a bit weird. Briony, you were gesturing earlier.
Yeah, so I don't have thoughts on that particularly, but I was just going to say, with regards to the music, we have had bits and bobs of music in this play already, and the Turks at the start were described as being quite musical, and like the sounds of them going into battle was musical. There was a description of music, so I feel like it's the kind of play that it's got space for that to happen, and there has been at least one stage direction of music previous to this.
Yes. I don't know if that helped clarify anything, Alexandra.
Getting the distinct feeling that my confusion is not due to missing half the play. It's due to it being this play. So thank you.
Yeah. Any other thoughts before we move on? Apparently back to Persia. Yeah, because we were in Venice and now we're going. This place traveling a lot, so I think they're kind of not really. I don't know. Yeah, sorry, Lynn.
No, I'm saying, is this thing on? And it is. I'm ready to be Sophy.
Ready for your close-up, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, moving on then. Scene 11. Enter Sophy, Calimath, and attendants.
No more. By Mortis Ali, we are moved. There's that proud Shirley whom our powerful heat drew from the earth, refined and made up great. Dares he presume to contradict our will and save a man whom we command him kill? He would not. Nay, he durst not. he rues his death, ride in a cloud of our offended breath.
He knows it.
And he fears it.
All yourself I speak not to disparage Shirley's worth, nor to divorce him from your gracious favour, but to maintain the custom of our wars, which most contemptuously he has broke down, in giving life to 30 prisoners, and talking with the Turk by messengers.
Send to the Turk and save our prisoners' lives.
With proffer to return them ransomless.
By Mortius Ali and our Persian gods, for every man he saved, I'll have a joint, and for conversing with the Turk, he's head.
Besides your gracious niece.
What of her? Dares the proud Christian think upon our niece?
And look and love her.
How?
And she on him.
To save the body, we must lose a limb. Surely shall off.
And time.
1. Call our niece, alter our custom, steal our subjects' bosoms, and like a cunning adder twine himself about our niece's heart. She wants his own. He's lord of us and of the Persian crown.
Enter the niece, Delibra, and attendants.
What craves the mighty Sophy?
Loose your train, and to the purpose, when and what commends came to your hands from our new general, Shirley the Great.
That he is great in name springs not from aught in us, but his own fame. But for what reason doth your greatness make this privy search in my concealed thoughts touching the English general?
Thy bosom harbors a traitor. Dost thou not love young Shirley?
I do not hate him. Should I answer so against my tongue, my conscience would say no.
Why then, you love him.
Should I not say my honoured thought would give my tongue the lie?
She has confessed.
That I love him, true.
And English, surely.
If he had his tongue, you should all love him. He has spent a sea of English blood to honour Persia.
And through that bloody sea, his treacherous head shall make a purple voyage to the shade where treason lives apparelled in red flames.
For me, because your niece does honour him?
For thee, because my niece doth dote on him, forgetful of thy fortunes and high birth, more bestial in thine appetite than beasts. The princely lioness disdains to mate but with a lion. Time and experience shows that eagles scorn to build or bill with crows.
What means all this?
That with thy love to Shirley, thou buyest our hate.
By a lady, a hard bargain. But merchant venturers cannot always win. You forced my thought to love him, and like a tutor, first taught my tongue to call him honourable. Your breath commanded knees to bow to him, tongue to adore, and duty to attend him. And is affection turned apostata? But I have found your humour, you grow jealous. Least I should rob you of your minion. In faith, you need not.
Our enkindled rage is grown too strong to be blown out with jests. Thou lovest.
The very ground he goes upon. But why? Because it bears my body's want. By Jove and by a virgin's modest thought, which like a laurel garland decks my brows. I love not Shirley, never harboured thought that told me he was lovely, at least equal to maintain wing with us.
Come, you dissemble.
I loved him to please you, to humour you, gave him kind language. If I praised his worth, 'twas not my tongue but yours. If 'twere a lie, it came from these. They authored it, not I. Yet I'll recant it too. Call him uncivil, ill-favoured, treacherous, disobedient, and to appease the tempest of your wrath, swear him a coward worse than Calimath. A lord I'll not endure.
Unequalled excellence. She doth disgrace us all to honour him.
You all disgrace yourselves to envy him. whose work has been an honour to you all.
And on that note, of course, enter Robert Shirley, who is currently muted, but enthusiastic.
Conquest and peace attend you.
A strong guard.
What means the Sophy? The Huron on...
But traitors? Ignoble Shirley, treacherous Christian, how dare thou, against the custom of our kingdom, reserve those prisoners' lives?
Dread Majesty, not proud contempt, but Christian charity, the pilot of mine actions.
But we know you come not empty of excuse, proud Shirley. Have we breathed life into thy sickly fortunes, and like the low and mean-bred Sarabere, having allowed thee seat room at our foot, darest thou presume to climb up to our crown? Presumptuous, know our breath can shake thee down.
Look through my bosom. If you find one thought basely conditioned or ambitious,
That thou art all ambition and hast drawn the love out of our subjects' breast, who to defeat us of our due title thee Shirley the Great.
great was their error that informed you so. My thoughts are like my fortunes, me and lo. If the high favours you have thrown on me by my dear industry I have increased, adds honour to your own for saving of my prisoners, let but a brother's love plead my excuse.
Ambitious like your own are his proceedings. 'Tis brought to us by letter how much he has abused himself and us in his employments.
Dearest Excellence, let not his want of duty fall on me, nor mine return to him.
Yet for his love you do confess you saved these prisoners.
True, for a brother's love, but not for his. I have an elder brother, so every way complete with virtuous qualities, that even his foes cannot but speak him well. Desire of fame, that in all ages hath been Shirley's aim, drew him from home. Mischances that like hail fall on bold minds did him so hard assail that by the Turk he was surprised and taken. By many strokes the tallest oaks are shaken. To ransom him, not to infringe your right, I freed these prisoners, manly ta'en and fight.
And was not that ambition?
If to save a worthy brother from a worthless grave be held ambitious, I have in a sin waded so deep that I must perish in.
Perish may 20 cowards first.
And she exits.
Away with her to prison. Suppose, as you infer, to ransom him you saved your prisoners' lives, for whose sake do you love our niece?
You fire that lightens all the world knows my desire does never look so high.
Come, you that durst break our land's custom for a brother's sake, durst for your own sake dote upon our niece. But see what credit your ambition bears. Go mount those prisoners' heads on 30 spears.
First be my blood their ransom, ere the Turk should have that proud advantage to report a Christian and a true-born English soldier promised and had not power to perform.
Then learn to promise nothing but your own.
Nor did I, mighty prince. With my own hands I took those captive Turks. With my dear blood I bought them of proud danger. This being known, in giving them, I gave naught but my own.
Come, you're too peremptory.
I am, indeed. Before mine honour let my man's heart bleed. Were it mine equal did me half this wrong, he should find sharper vengeance than my tongue.
You can produce no probable excuse.
Your ears will hear no reason, Calimath. Thou hast a brother, Persian, so have I. A prisoner brother to redeem his life, that all this while lies on the edge of death. I saved these prisoners. What to do again? Again I'd venture. Have ye shapes of men and want their spirits? We in all are three, sons of one father, branches of one tree. Should a rough hand but violently tear one scion from a tree, the rest must bear share in the herd. The smallest wound that drains blood from our breasts empties our father's veins.
Hast thou another brother?
We in all are three. The youngest and meanest of spirit speaks in me, yet ere the Turk should think I had no power to back my word, oh, be this instant hour my latest minute, with your warlike sword, strike of my head. Life's cheaper than my word.
Oh, wait. I've lost my place.
Be master of thy wish.
Okay, I didn't hear. Struck off my head, cheaper than my word. Okay, I didn't. Be master of thy wish, but first we here take off thy offices and titles and bestow them upon this worthy gentleman, charging thee by that first mover whom thou callest thy God, the blessed Messiahs in the sacrament which Christians hold so ceremonious, thy father's blessing and thy brother's love, and the long progress which thy soul must go, whether thou ever levelest at our crown or at an unlawful contract with our niece.
Never. For had I harboured such intent, nothing could make me basely to repent. But I had never any life nor death can make a Christian falsify his breath.
Withdraw the Christian and produce our niece. And officer, 'tis well.
Enter an officer with a counterfeit head like Robert Shirley's. Enter niece.
Will you speak yet? Yet can ambition read your hateful practice?
Had young Shirley's head
A traitor's head, whose proud ambitious tongue did at his death basely confess his wrong. Did you as much and take our princely pardon? Speak, did you love that Christian or no?
I never loved him living, but being dead, thus I'll embrace, thus kiss his lovely head. Alas, good Shirley, did thy warlike hand for this defend the Sophy, guard his land? Didst thou for this forsake thy country, friends, and weeping father? That's a kind's amends.
Speak, did you love him?
No, for if I had, I should have grown impatient, wild and mad, washed off this blood with tears and...
Take her hence. She dies, but she acknowledged her offense.
Stay, since I must, I will. I did offend. Cause undeserved, I wrought brave Shirley's end. I did offend, for careless I stood by, and let true valour amongst cowards die.
Cowards.
Aye, cowards. His worth recorded stands upon you file of stars. He has the hands of all the holy angels to approve. What blood he spent in quest of Christian love, I speak not like a strumpet, that being filled with spirit of lust, her own abuse to gild, slanders her friend. Till now I never loved him, and now by yonder sun I dote on him. I never heard him vow, protest, or speak word that might his approved allegiance break. Oh, you have done a deed blacker than night, a murder that would murder's soul affright. Your very foes will say when this is known, in cutting off his head, you have scared your own. Were I his brother, countryman or slave, I'd kill his murderer, or dig my grave under the Sophy's feet. Oh, you have won the ire of heaven and hate of Christendom.
If he be innocent,
by heaven he is.
Then we confess our spleen has done amiss.
Redeem it then, and in his winding sheet, let his dissevered head and body meet. Return them me, let me the credit have, and lay his mangled body in a grave.
Take it with our best love and furtherance, and having joined his body to his head, his winding sheet be thy chaste marriage bed.
Enter Robert Shirley, who had been escorted off.
Then lives young Shirley?
Yea, and still shall stand loved of the Sophy, honored in his land. And styles and offices we late took off, we back restore. And now to Calimath. Thus far on your report we have proceeded, and had we found them either culpable, their heads had paid for it. But being clear, we here restore them to their former state, renew them with our love, thee with our hate.
Your favor, as for all the rest, low-minded surely counts him highly blessed.
Enter a messenger.
You're sweating news. Does somebody else want to do messenger?
To the great general, to your demand, thus sends the haughty Turk that were your 30 prisoners petty kings. He would not free the English gentleman.
Would not. Lead on. We'll talk with him in steel. What he denies to hear, we'll force him feel. We'll not return them till we are, then will we head our spears with viceroys' skulls, and o'er his craven ears batter his castles like a shower of hail. On to the field, heaven and our right prevail.
They exit, leaving Calimath on stage.
Hell on our wrongs, give him his niece in marriage. First, like an ass, load me with ornaments to see how I'd become his golden traps, and the same minute snatch them off again. Oh, I am vexed. Damnation and black hell author my actions. In my passions dwell commotive thoughts, envy and hate, striving in my breast like twins inseparate. My spleens in travail until they be born. My swollen heart labours, and my breast is torn. To ease which torment and to free my breath, I'll be delivered my kind midwife's death.
Exit Calimath. Yeah, so that's the end of scene 11, which is totally not problematic. Yeah. Any thoughts, Lynn?
Yeah, I guess the Sophy was supposed to have been playing everybody the whole time, which wasn't clear to me in the beginning. I think the way to play that is he never had any intention of actually executing Robert Shirley, that he admires Shirley too, and actually doesn't entirely disapprove of a match between Shirley and his niece, and doesn't really like Calimath very much, because otherwise that, he's not really dead and you get to marry him, like that comes out. Yeah, like it was like, what over there? Yeah. Same.
Yeah, I don't know. No, there was a part of me thinking that people haven't really died in this play aside from like peripheral characters, like, you know, people who don't actually speak, basically. And Briony, you had a thought.
Yes, there was some talk in the chat about this by a lady thing, and I'd already made a note to myself about it. I wonder, although I don't know because of what the rest of the scene then went and did, but my first thought was maybe it's to show that she's been spending time with this Christian guy. You know what I mean? Because it did strike me as such a strange turn of phrase for her to be using. So I wonder if it's supposed to be that, you know, because they've been hanging out and chatting, she's kind of picked up some of the lingo from him.
Could be. Alan.
I'm not sure that it's that deliberate. I think, quite honestly, the more we hear of this play, the more it's thinking of, you know, now theatre 1600. Let's have all the best bits. You know, and it's well, the scene from the John the Baptist play of Salome, kissing the dead head, you know, that one always gets a good audience reaction. Fine, we'll stick that one in as well, you know.
But there's no
another
head,
tick in the
so
list.
it's not that. There's no head though.
Well, there's the feigned head.
Where is it?
Is brought on.
Yeah.
That's grim.
Sorry, I'm just thinking because I know that there are some other plays that we've seen that have like heads on spikes and stuff and that kind of thing.
Well, this one started with a parade of heads on swords.
Yeah, it's like, well, we've got the prop, we might as well.
Yeah, you know, you know, I'm sure this was a joint production between the costume department, the fight arranger, and the props people. You know, actors and script writers. Yeah, well, fair enough.
necessary evil, those scriptwriters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but they do seem to relish the language quite a bit, like especially like with the the Harlaken Kemp parts and all that stuff. So there is some element of intelligence. I mean, yeah, in terms of like not necessarily plot, but like language use, I think. Yeah, I don't know what point I was making there. Anyway, Briony.
Yeah, and to stick up for what you're saying as well, I wrote down about the arguments in this. There are some really, really well written arguments in this play. The way he uses like tempo by using longer lines and shorter lines, it just flows really nicely, and it feels very real and very intelligent. And the shared lines and things like that particularly during like the little argument moments in the play have been really good.
Yeah, I have to admit that the part about like you love him and the whole like, accusation felt a bit what's it called it felt a bit sort of like you're in a rom-com / Law and Order, but like the romance version. I know, just how dare you love him? He will betray us, or we can't let a Christian take the Persian crown. It was quite, yeah. We worked out now why that would be a problem, which we were asking yesterday, actually, in the session yesterday. Alexandra, and I think I saw Elizabeth Wade.
Is the play being billed as a comedy?
You keep cutting out, so yeah.
Okay.
You're very quiet.
Let me try speaking louder. So relating to that, is this play billed as a comedy? Given that practically nobody dies, and all of those other points that you guys were making about, the evil Jewish character being written like it's a pastiche and all these sort of things. Because I'm wondering whether it's just the fact that our tastes have altered, or that we are sort of we're taking this sort of seriously because it's not a funny comedy, whereas just the fact that people are not dying and that problems do occur but then they get resolved is what we should be considering, a joyful, pleasant romp, an adventure across all these various Mediterranean locales.
Yeah, I don't know. It's quite interesting. I mean, aside from the racism and the sexism. Well, actually, there isn't that much sexism thus far. I think we had one line yesterday that was considered sexist, and it was sort of like, "Oh, the frailties of my sex," spoken by the niece.
That's okay, because it's ticking the other two boxes, religion and race. I'm wondering whether perhaps we might be looking at this more seriously than it was intended to be looked at. And that's why we're so confused, because we're trying to make sense of it, which is a thing that I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why we have these sessions now. But then it's like, if this one was, it's advertised as the travels of the three English brothers, not just the three English brothers, which we obviously thought was like, as soon as I read the title, I thought this was like, related to the Four Apprentices of London, which Elizabeth pointed out, it's very different to, in terms of, the sort of, certain elements are very different, sort of, oh, look, the English are abroad kind of, aren't we sophisticated parts. I don't know. This one is just interesting because it seems to have like sort of the whole, it does have good elements. It's not sort of, or well, a lot of it is good. As Briony said, it does kind of have parts that are like proper debate. It's not just like filling, it's not throwing words at you for the sake of them. Whereas, which is what I do. But like, for example, the Sophy Robert argument, or the sort of Sophy Calimath argument of like, oh yeah, he's Christian, but you support him, and sort of not a threat of insubordination, but the threat of sort of the person who should have got the generalship was not made general. So yeah, that's kind of threatened the stability of the relationship between Calimath and the Sophy. So I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I can't remember where I was going with this, but yes, this play is doing interesting things.
Yeah, it's like it's taking international politics and going, but anyway, here's a funny scene with Will Kemp. And yeah, there's also international politics still happening. And anyway, a little bit of romance. And oh yeah, in case you've forgotten, politics. Yeah.
It's like, didn't we have a plot somewhere here? Politics, 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 romance, politics, 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 death, romance, romance, romance. Wait, yeah, no, something like that. Yeah. But it's not quite a parody because it's not all laughs either. So, yeah. I don't know if it matters for talking about genre as well. I mean, I know Lynn would be very fussed about it because she loves genre talk. It's her thing.
Yeah, it's my problem.
But I mean, yeah, I guess it only depends sort of on how you play it. Like sort of, I mean, Calimath going first like an ass, load me with ornaments, and then sort of it just like it depends how well how that monologue or soliloquy comes across. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what I was talking about there. Just like sort of, yeah. He's kind of throughout the place being going, I will be avenged, with my brother, I will be avenged, and just like trying to, and then just completely failing. Very much Wile E. Coyote, but sort of with speech. Elizabeth, please tell me you had a point before I keep digging.
No, you're not digging it. You're doing quite well. I was just really fascinated by all these severed heads. I was like, so this is one of those plays where I don't think we've had many like this, where the violence is kind of alluded to, or it's like it's happened already in the past. So we've had the scene in the last half where they came on stage with severed heads on the end of their swords, and this one where we have the severed head of that's apparently Robert Shirley, and then obviously the niece's reaction to it. But I feel like I was thinking of Battle of Alcazar, a few of the Turkish plays we've done before. I remember people being strangled, on stage in full view of the audience, and like being not necessarily beheaded, but a lot of strangulation going on. And I think this is very, very different in tone. And I like that it's chosen to go the kind of comedic. Kyle said was like a comedic farce. And it was kind of like maybe it's satirical. Maybe it's supposed to be more satirical than it's supposed to be historical. But I think I just like the way the violence is alluded to, but it doesn't really take place in front of us. But this could be like, I could be completely wrong. We might be headed for the last few minutes of like all out carnage.
I was going to talk about Promos and Cassandra, where we've seen a fake head turn up as well. And it's like, look, your brother is dead. And then it's like, obviously he's not. It's just he had to produce something to prove that he'd done his job. Yeah, Alexandra. Sorry.
Yes, I shall not incur the wrath of the duck, but there are other plays that use fake head ploys. There's at least two. As the person with the interest in the violence, I just thought I'd elucidate Elizabeth's point there. So the point of the strangulations is in Turk plays is very specific to the tradition that you can't spill royal blood. So for the Ottomans and the Safavids, I believe, if you must kill a member of the royal family, and you do need to kill lots of them with every change in rulership, because you've got to kill all the brothers and the uncles who could potentially try and take the throne away, you can't spill their blood, and therefore you kill them by strangulation. Whereas the beheadings thing is an interesting point, because I can't think of any play that does an on-stage beheading. I can only think of, and they pop just off and they come back with the head. But it would be really interesting if there is one that actually, how do you do that? How do you stage on-stage decapitation? Because we do have on-stage hangings, but I can't think of decapitation.
There are two I can think of off the top of my head. There's Appius and Virginia, which we've done. And you can see that second look somewhere on YouTube, I think, because I seem to remember Helen coming on with like a sort of knife.
Flower.
Yeah. And also there is, I think, the Emperor Alphonsus, not the comedy version, but the tragedy by someone else whose name I can't remember. There's murder of a baby, there's sort of, I can't remember if it's decapitation or just like killing someone by killing them, death by death, but it was sort of like multiple stab wounds kind of thing. So it's not just Turkish plays, if that's yeah. So
no. Stabbings and murderings on stage do happen a lot. Decapitation specifically, I can't think of. But yeah, that's it's a very interesting avenue to pursue. Thank you.
Yes, we should totally. If anyone out there has written a PhD on this, or anything on decapitation on stage, I don't know. Please, comment below, or above. No, below. I don't know. This play is doing a lot of weird things. Anyway, before we get stuck here, also we should probably move on, right? I mean, to find out what happens next. So scene 12 then. Enter the jailer with a paper in his hand.
According to this, my warrant here, I must this morning fetch my prisoner to airing. He had need to be hung out, lest his flesh should mould, for I am sure his clothes are musty already. We Turks are to these Christians for all the world like usurers to young heirs, make picking meat of their carcasses, even to the very bones, and then leave them to the hangman, for they'll none of them. And not like Englishmen to their oxen, the nearer fat the nearer fed upon. Well, hither he must come, and yet I think scarcely to unless he be carried. For I am sure, let me see, these 5 or 6 months at least, he has had nothing but the hard boards for his bed, dry bread for his food, and miserable water for his drink. And we Turks think that it is too good for these Christians too. For why should we do any better to them, since they do little better to one another? But where are you? Here, ha!
Enter Sir Thomas.
What would thy tongue bring me, unless to have thy tyrannies, writ here? Fright thine own soul, or art thou come to add unto my bones, having no sense of suffering in my flesh? Speak out thy worst. Our spirits not afraid at what can come, though in our looks dismayed.
All this, sir, is to be left to the discretion of the higher powers. I have nothing to do with it. Only, sir, I have a warrant here to make 2 knots to tie your ankles in. All the teeth in your head cannot tell how to undo 'em, and here they are ready, sir.
How, slave?
Nay, come resist not. But remember, we have cold iron, a good cudgel, and a strong arm. Put in your bearers.
Blind fortune, when thou look'st askance on men, thou art without conscience in thy plaguing them.
Come, your legs are shrunk, as you had been at your lechery lately. We shall slip their collars anon, so you may say your prayers now. You shall have more company presently.
Exit the jailer, leaving Sir Thomas in the stocks.
What folly were it in me to sigh at this, or chide my fortune being common, that she brings full hands to fools and knaves' grief, even to kings, and that she brings full hands to fools and knaves, grief even to kings. Or what avails it me to rail at them that fled from me, whose fates I built upon, since this a ripened trust, to find some slaves as honest men, to die and have due graves, or that my flesh is shrunk, and my blood paled, since I have this to make my courage bold. Men have but done a part of what death should, Or why should my captivity afflict me? Good minds know this. Imprisonment's no shame, unless the cause be foul which blots the name. Then all the griefs in my remembrance be, is that my father's eyes should weep for me and my misfortune. For mine own mishaps are to my mind as are heaven's thunderclaps, who clears the air of foul infection, and in my thoughts do only publish this: afflictions due to man as life and sin is.
Enter the great Turk with a Bassa. I don't know how to pronounce that anymore. Jailor and attendants.
Speak. Where is this captive English Christian?
Here as appointed by our emperor.
Say, Christian, yet resolve us thy descent, and promise of the ransom that's assigned thee. Our tortures shall enforce it from thy tongue. With the sun's light this day we have thee graced, which till this hour we have exempt from thee. Which grace of ours, unless thou do confess, thy torture shall be more, thy freedom less.
Of that I enjoy you benefit of heaven, the life and solace of each living creature, here to refresh mine eyes, I do confess, by you kept from me, by your bounty given me, and this some comfort to my misery. That sun shines on my father, looks on me. But to resolve your grace to pay a ransom, and know not how to make my promise good, I had rather you should take. I yield my blood.
Why thinkest thou, Christian, our belief so slight? Great surely for thy ransom would send back 30 of chiefest note in our respect. And thou of obscure parentage and birth, thou hast waked our anger. Put him on the rack, where 40 hours he shall remain. Upon your lives I charge it quickly done, ourself will see the execution.
But the farthest way about to death, to give men lingering tortures when a small prick is man's conclusion. But howsoe'er, my lord, I have patience to accept what you afford. The dungeon, this, now that, if back again unto your loathsome prison, off to rack, true constancy's my forefront and my back.
We'll try your patience, Christian. Hoist him up.
No! Oh!
Now where's your haughty courage durst withstand us, and Roman spirit that forswore to yield?
Here, Emperor, here, even in these outstretched veins, lives my amazeless vitals. Here's an undaunted heart that never yields by Turkish tyranny. I am the same through all that made me man. Scorn pagans' threats to die a Christian.
Wrench him again.
Oh! Oh!
Yet wilt thou tell thy blood and parentage, and yield unto the ransom we have assigned thee?
No, Emperor, no. Even in this hell of pain, I answer, never. I once denied thee, and my tongue's no liar.
We stand amazed at thy constancy. Yet answer us, wilt thou forsake thy faith, become as we are, and to Mahomet, our holy prophet, and his Al-Quran give thy devotion, and by our kings we swear we will accept thee in the place of kings?
First shall the sun melt from his restless seat, that our name shall turn apostate. Thy kingdoms be unpeopled, and thy nations become as free for beasts as now for men. Thyself, as sometimes were thy ancestors, fed in a cage drawn at conquerors' heels.
Presumptuous Christian!
And thy bad life made such a hateful death. Even fowls shall loathe thy body, men thy breath.
Thy strength of faith hath bred a wonder in us. One, take him down and bear him back to prison. We yet resolve not how to deal with him.
You will to torture back again our comforts. This hell stores for you like pain.
Exit Sir Thomas, presumably carried off by this point. Enter a messenger.
The hasty news.
"'Tis you, good Lady Lynn."
Turk, not agent, messenger?
Yeah.
Okay. The English agent craves access to you.
Admit him.
Enter agent. "From my dread master, England's royal king, by these his letters fair commends to you."
We greet him with like love. His letters crave a prisoner that's called Shirley we should have.
"An English knight upon whom his English knight whom his misfortunes cast upon your Turkish shore."
We have as yet had notice of no such.
"By name, perhaps, dread emperor, yet in this place by your commandment he lives prisoner, and brother to that Shirley called the Great,
Ha!
which in the Persians wars is general."
Had I known that, by Mahomet he had died.
"His miseries have I spoke unto our king, joined with his worth, and he hath sent for him."
Will not deny your master his request, yet how to know we do not send him back his subject, but a present given from us, whom we esteem of an unvalued worth. One bring him forth, receive him English agent.
Enter one with Sir Thomas.
To thee, as to thy master's hand, we thus present him. Bid him accept him as our thoughts did hold. A gem could not be bought from us with. His pass shall be for Florence, then for England. Least he in Persia should embrace his brother, and prove a plague to us as great as the other.
Exit all of them, pretty much. Yeah. I feel like we need sort of more stage directions in that scene, just because like we moved from the stocks to, well, basically we moved from like prisoner situation to stocks, then to the rack, and then off stage, and then back on stage, and then yeah, it's a lot of stuff. Alexandra waving enthusiastically.
Having just spoken about, oh, I haven't seen any on-stage beheading, we then have an on-stage racking. Yay!
Ooh. Yeah, there you go.
Alexandra is a perfectly peaceful person. Yeah, any thoughts about the scene? Briony, then Lynn, who's looking very troubled.
Was there any explanation as to why he's not killing him? He's like, if I'd known that, I would have killed him. And then I'm going to give him back. What? Am I the only one? Was there anything to explain any of that? Anyone?
Presumably, Alexandra, yes.
There is a line of the Turks after he offers him conversion and freedom, and Sir Thomas refuses. The Turk says, "Thy strength of faith hath bred a wonder in us. Somebody take him down, put him back in prison, and we'll figure out what to do with him."
Yeah.
And then the English agent turns up, so presumably the Turk, the Ottoman Sultan, is like, "Oh, is it interesting that you're here? I've got somebody called Shirley you can have." That's almost exactly the line. His letters crave a prisoner that's called Shirley we should have. Let me just check my stores and figure out which one's called Shirley. Yep, okay, got him. Yeah, you can have him.
Yeah, but I think also the concept was that he hasn't killed him yet because the Persian Sophy has promised him 30 in exchange. So 30 prisoners in exchange. That is 30 Turkish, Ottoman Turkish. I think, if I'm not mistaken, because there was a line about for
That got refused.
yeah,
We were
yeah.
Initially, it
But
did.
that was why he was keeping him, or something like that. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
not.
so if I understand this correctly, what's happened is either in support of the brother or coincidentally in the same place where where Robert, the brother that I'm also reading, is, the Persian, the Safavi, sent an offer of 30 Turks, and it got refused. in exchange for this one guy, and now he's being exchanged to the English. He's being gifted or exchanged as a prisoner. I'm not sure. I don't think they get anything back. But yeah, the Ottomans are making a deal with the English, not with the Persians.
Okay, but the other thing is, there's this line that really confused me. Yet how to know we do not send him back his subject, but a present given from us, whom we esteem of an unvalued worth. So does that mean that he doesn't even know that it's Shirley, and he's just like, well, I need to get rid of this other guy, so I'll send them him? I'm just really confused about that. And by coincidence, it actually is Shirley, but because Shirley's not told him who he was, has he? I don't know.
That is sort of my understanding, but I don't know. So it's on a postcard, or parchment or scroll, depending on, or a chalkboard. I don't know what they would have used at this period.
Wax tablet.
Yeah. Alexandra.
If I understand this correctly, what is occurring just before the end of this scene is the agent comes in and goes, "Hi, we're looking for somebody called Shirley." The Ottomans go, "We have as yet had notice of no such." The agent kind of clarifies, "We're looking for the brother of Shirley the Great, who killed lots of people in the Persian Wars." And the Sultan said, if I'd known who he is, I would have killed that guy. I'm not going to refuse your master, who I don't have an issue with, but yet know not how we do not send him back, yet how to know we do not send him back his subject, but a present. I don't know that guy, but I can give you this one, because he's pretty neat. Somebody call him over. And then he says, to the rest of thy master, we present this guy, who is a gem that couldn't be bought for gold. And have a great time with that, because he's been a plague on our side. So I think either he's just figuring it out, putting it together just before the end, or he is unknowingly gifting the guy he's got for the one that they're actually looking for, and it so happens that they're the same person.
Yeah, something like that. Well, I think he worked it out because if he goes back to Persia, we're in deep trouble. Yeah, I think that's the whole point of that. And also, I just happened. Yeah, we should move on, because we have one last scene to do, which is quite long as far as I can tell.
In several parts.
Yeah, and it's scene 13. Enter Master Robert Shirley. So basically, Alexandra being her own brother, as you do, and a hermit with him.
And my own grandpa. Grave father, for the reverence of your age and justice of the cause for which you come, being to advance the glory of our God, wherein no soul should have neglectful thoughts, I have lain by particular affairs to give a hearing to your busyness.
Go on, my son, to him being dutiful. Virtue will make thy name more honourable. Myself from far have on these aged feet, whose knees do buckle and have scarce their strength to bow me further than their graves in length. With easy paces, but a swift desire, inquired thee out, that hearing thee a Christian, so gracious with this Persian emperor, a mind so noble in thy actions, a body fortunate in his designs, thou mightst as well bestow thy pains and blood to advance religion as for the heathen's good.
Heaven knows, knew I the means, I were his willing servant.
If like thy tongue thy intention have a care, climb up to heaven by this ascending stair, entreat thy emperor thou mayst raise a church to sacrifice thy prayers unto that name, to whom all names should kneel, when, if his priests, himself, his council, any heathen breath, should contradict the high authority of thy devoted zeal, spare not to say, there God's his servant, whom thy thoughts obey, and win, as by persuasion kings are won, or else confute them by religion?
Alas, my ungrown experience to argue a difference of that height betwixt their God and ours is so far unfit, I rather shall abuse than honour it.
Why, my son, dost thou forget to know? Our God's the spring whence eloquence doth flow, and it confuse into thee, wert thou dumb, words thunder-like, a contradictless tongue, that when thou speakest the honour of that name, made earth to hang betwixt yon heavenly frame, born on no axle tree, angels do sit about thine ears and breathe into thy wit, and if thou shouldst in such a quarrel die, martyrs look on thee with a joyful eye.
Yet ye have given unto my life another soul, and never, reverend father, could you have come in time that's fitter, wherein I may prove my duty to the highest, to Christians' love. This present day I have an infant born, who, though descended from the emperor's niece, a pagan, I'll baptize in Christian faith, confute their ignorance, heaven assisting me, that mine one soul this comfort may partake. Surely in Persia didst the first Christian make. Then raise a temple for our further good, or in the fair adventure spend my blood.
In all necessities I'll further thee, and if by my advice thou diest, I'll die with thee.
And so to die your life would new begun, old age to die with him, a made God's son.
Enter Sophy, Halybeck, and Calimath.
Aye, go on, and of your great affairs deliver us every several circumstance.
From thence I left, dread sovereign, thus ensues, that Shirley, whom you joined with me in embassy, having our footing once on Christian ground, became so proud, so wild, so prodigal, all eyes condemn him. Only some few that gave his rising looks, but for the due your grace bestowed on him in princes' courts. His fellowship was fools, his actions sports for wise men's tables. I often did advise him that such behaviours no way did befit the glory of his place, nor would you suffer it when his return gave place for punishment. When first in Russia he abused your greatness, for which the just state did imprison him, yet for the honour of the cause in hand, ere long he was released. We come to Rome, where I but striving to ascend as chief, being in person there your sacred self, his hand first struck me, while his tongue did chime, no pagans must ascend where Christians climb.
Does he say so?
He did, my lord. Yet passed we thence to Venice, where as before he kept his flood of riot and abuse, for which he's there kept prisoner, and the state returned me back, nothing determined of.
Now may my sovereign evidently see their subtle glozings have this inward kind that wound your heart, though seem to please your mind.
By day, if this be true, no Christian lives within the compass where our will may kill. Speak, how canst thou answer this appeal of theirs?
Let the emperor but desist a while from the remembrance of a tale he heard, or else but think great men may face a lie till truth appear and give their checkered eye. These letters in your eyes first speak for me, whilst in their ears a story I'll unfold shall make their heads shake and their hearts cold. The first from Russia, where this envious man accused my brother as a fugitive, a thief, a pirate, and a Christian spy, for which he was imprisoned, till evidently the state had knowledge of his innocence, then him released, sent that intelligence. At Rome, I not deny my brother struck him for pride, so just the father of that seat in his behalf doth in his letter speak. Now let your eyes but look what Venice writes, that this man by suggestion wrought the state against my brother's labours, withheld the treasure your princely self sent to discharge the due for the rich jewel that my brother bought, and all the benefit to Christendom and to your honour is by him undone.
Treason's unheard of. Such shall be the revenge be. His silence and his looks approves his guilt. Great Shirley, at thy censure there he stands. To doom him death may equal his offence. Unto thy brother's life he stretched his sin. Be his alike, we freely give thee him.
Then here's my justice for so vile a crime, since that it reached unto my brother's life, and blemish of his honour and his worth, and hindered that ordained for Christian glory. He shall confess unto your sacred self all treasons in those letters mentioned to be his plots and actions gainst my brother, and tell the world to shut up, scandalous tongue, and that all that thou didst from roots to envy sprung, and no desert of his. They satisfied for all conspiracy, all evil, envy's sin, we thus will love thee. Learn but to love him.
Thou art too merciful.
In this as merciful as honourable.
Thy clemency doth make me see myself to have been a villain to that gentleman, deserve so well of all men, best of me. Great emperor, not a letter that is there, if every character were doubled twice, but the attempts are mine against his life. Death I have deserved, then much I owe to thee, that might have taken my life and set me free.
Stay there, sir. Shirley has pardoned the offence to him, not the transgression thou hast done to us. We sent thee forth as our ambassador to deal for us, as we ourself were there. Which dignity of ours thy tongue profaned, for which we do adjudge thee lose thy tongue. We made thy hand like ours to strike or spare, which power and grace of ours thou didst abuse, for which thou shalt go handless to thy grave, and that thy head that made the rest offence shall off.
Mercy,
Mercy, dread emperor.
Who talks of mercy tastes our wrath with him, and you that are kin to him in blood, whose eyes, being brothers, should taste grief alike, we charge you to see the execution.
Dread emperor.
Speak not, we are resolved.
And I to die. Ambition still lies lowest, seeking to fly.
And they exit.
His honours and possessions now are thine, and yet unsatisfied thy griefs remain. Ask yet to please thyself, it shall be granted.
I fear to be too bold.
Ask and obtain.
My child may be baptized in Christian faith, and know the same God that the Father hath.
Baptize thy child, ourself will aid in it. Ourself will answer for it, a godfather. In our own arms we'll bear it to the place where it shall receive complete ceremony. Speak, what else thou wouldst have granted thee?
You are too lavish of your high favours. I would entreat I might erect a church, wherein all Christians that do hither come may peaceably hear their own religion.
'Tis granted, erect a stately temple. It shall take name from thee, great Shirley's church. Finish thy suit, whate'er it be.
You are too prodigal, I too presuming. Yet, sith yourself doth thus authorize me, I will not hide my heart. Your further leave, I would, by your permission, raise a house where Christian children from their cradles should know no other education, manners, language, nor religion than what by Christians is delivered them.
We'll ask no counsel to confirm that grant. 'Tis obtained. Speak all.
Your favour, love, and good estimation, and my suit is ended.
In the best embrace of our endeared love we do enclose thee. Shirley shall approve our favours are no cowards to give back. They shall abide till death. Thou shalt not lack our love's plenitude, our dearest nephew. Now for the temple, where our royal hand shall make thy child first Christian in our land.
and they exit, and then there's a show of the christening, followed by the epilogue, which we will have immediately, so we can just wrap up the play and then entertain. I cannot speechify anymore. Enter Fame.
Thus far hath Fame with her proclaiming trump sounded the travails of our English brothers. Unhappy they, and hapless in our scenes, that in the period of so many years that destiny's mutable commandress hath never suffered their regreeting eyes to kiss each other at an interview. But would your apprehensions help poor art? Into 3 parts dividing this our stage, they all at once shall take their leaves of you, think this England, this Spain, this Persia. Your favors then, to your observant eyes, will show their fortunes' present qualities.
Enter 3 several ways the 3 brothers, Robert with the state of Persia before, Sir Anthony with the King of Spain, and others where he receives the Order of St. Iago and other offices, Sir Thomas in England with his father and others. Fame gives to each his prospective glass. They seem to see one another and offer to embrace, at which Fame parts them, and so they exit and leave Fame.
To those that need a further description, we help their understanding with the tongue. Sir Anthony Shirley we have left in Spain, a knight of Santiago, one of the council of his highness's wars against the infidels, captain of the Armada with other honors. The eldest in England is, to sue unknown his worth, his merit, and his offices. The last in Persia, as you have seen. This is the utmost of our intelligence. If we should prosecute beyond our knowledge, some that fill up this round circumference and happily better know their states than we, must justly call the authors travelers, and give the actors too the soldier's spite. Then here we leave them, now the rest to you, since they have safely passed so many perils, for what through danger passes is the best. Since they in all places have found favorites, we make no doubt of you, 'twere too hard doom to let them want your likings here at home.
Thus endeth the play. Way! Round of applause there. Yeah, interestingly, it was, apparently this was played at the curtain, because someone just asked that question in the chat. It is the play called The Travails of the 3 English Brothers, as it was played at the curtain. And the company of first production, according to the database of early English playbooks, which is a great resource, is the Queen Anne's Men. So I don't know what that means. I mean, I do know what it means, but I mean
later. Anne was no, I'm a liar. Anne was James's wife, Anne of Denmark.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting. I mean, interesting in that sort of for people who want to know that kind of stuff. Yeah. I don't know how much time we have. I don't know what time it is. Yeah, we have time. We have a few minutes. Thoughts, final thoughts on the scenes, the characters, and all that stuff. Alexandra.
2 thoughts I would like to formulate. One is longer than the other. The shorter one is Robert coming in with Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, and the response being, well, he's got a guilty face and no evidence, so we'll believe you. Feels like it was funny in context, but on the other hand, it feels like there's a little bit more actual evidence or at least witness testimonies than you often get in these sort of situations where we go, I say this, I believe you because I like you, it must be true. And I do like the setting aside, this is the second thought, but setting aside the horrendous representation of religions and of what people actually are supposed to believe or pray to or etc. I think there's something very interesting and not entirely inaccurate in the representation of the Ottoman prisoner being offered conversion and freedom, which is a thing that we know was a feature of people who were imprisoned, who were captured by a whole bunch of early Muslim cultures, and also this presentation of the Shahanshah, the Persian Shah, as tolerant of other religions. You know, I want my child to be baptized. Cool, you do you, friend. Can I also build a church? Yeah, I don't see why not. You know, it feels very kind of exaggerated to us in a modern context, but I believe this is happening at a time where historically, in the real place, there was a fair amount of religious tolerance, and it's definitely a much greater amount than there was in the West. So that I found really interesting.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. As far as I know, I don't know about like sort of in terms of prisoner situations, but I do know that supposedly, historically, at least in Cyprus, if you converted, you got lower taxes. So in under the sort of Ottoman Empire, you had sort of aside from convert or die, which was also presented in earlier in the sort of in the play as a Christian method, because they didn't want to carry around captives and stuff. Presumably that was the logic as well, among other things. They kind of just went, yeah, sure, convert or don't convert, we don't mind, just pay us. Pay us more taxes, because if you were Christian, you would have to sort of pay more. You could live in peace and stuff so long as you paid more to the Sultan. I'm sure there was other stuff as well, but like sort of extra benefits to being to converting to Islam and stuff. I don't know what it was. Briony.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that overall, and I think there is a way to lean into it. This whole idea of England, you know, the former, well, I mean, at this point it was future empire, but this whole way that we have of stamping in with our big size nines and not understanding foreigners properly, etc., etc. I think you could lean into it, and this could be a very funny play. But obviously, yeah, there's definitely trims to be made, and there's, you know, you don't need to go too far with. I think the Jew could be pulled back a bit for sure. But yeah, I think there's also some disappointments here as well, though, because I wish that the niece had got a little bit more, you know, a name for one thing, because her maid, who has an even smaller part, gets a name and she doesn't, which I think is a bit crap. But I do like what she does do in the play. And yeah, there's some fun moments in it. I think overall this has still got some life in it.
Yes. I don't know what else to say about it. Any Elizabeth or Alan, any other thoughts, or Lynn for that matter? I don't know if I've heard enough of you either. Any of you, I mean.
Well,
Lynn.
yeah, my kind of final impression is that it just sort of plot-wise falls apart a little bit. It seems to have a direction in the beginning, and then kind of at the Kemp, Zariph, the Jew, and the jewel, and that seems kind of just sort of sutured in, and then we can't decide which of the three brothers is actually the main character. It seems to fall apart a little plot-wise at the end. Although lots of nice moments, which is not a small thing. You know, nice moments actually make a great evening of entertainment sometimes.
This is true. Alan, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to change my midterm thoughts of it being effectively an entertainment of what bits of theatre have gone down well in recent times. Let's replicate them. You know, you could almost see it in sort of student review terms. You know, these are the edited highlights from the last season or five. And as I say, the fight arranger, the props department, costume department would probably have been considerably more important in the making of it than the committee of writers.
I suppose so. Alexandra was having a thought and then changed her mind, or not.
Yes, no, I was having a thought, but it was a different thought. It was, I just read the description within the epilogue of the arrival, enter three several ways, the three brothers, each in a different place, and then there's their father as well. Fame gives to each a prospective glass. They seem to see one another and offer to embrace, at which fame parts them. And so, are they having a Zoom meeting? What's going on?
Almost. I can shed a little light on that. It's not prospective; it's perspective. I'm sure, like the spelling being fairly fluid. So they had this kind of toy for adults in this period, where there would be a painting that was extremely distorted and a shaped mirror like a cylinder or something like that, and you place the mirror next to the painting, and then the distortion would be undone and you would see the painting as it was supposed to be in the perspective glass. There's a painting by Holbein called The Ambassadors, and there's this blob near the bottom, and if you look at it at an angle, it's a skull. It's that same idea. So it's like a painter showing off, I can do something super distorted, but you put this weird shaped mirror next to it and you see the picture as it's supposed to be. So that's the perspective. The perspective glass is an undistorting mirror.
That's kind of cool. That is kind of cool, isn't it? Alexandra.
Yes, it's great. I think I've seen one of those. I think I know what you mean. And also, yeah, the Holbein painting is at the National Galleries. But the description says they seem to see one another and offer to embrace. So that I'm still gonna headcanon this as the magic mirror from Beauty and the Beast.
It works. It works. It's fine. Yeah, Elizabeth, you're scratching your head,
I'm scratching my head because I'm thinking. It's like one of those things when you're just thinking.
What is this thinking you speak of?
My thinking is just about, is it any good? Like the first half was like full of promise. And then the ending, I feel, has just been so anticlimactic. It was just kind of like, let's wrap this up. Okay, so we had the brothers and they were doing cool stuff, and let's just wrap this up. Let's make sure they all have different things that they were doing. And yeah, that's all done now. And let's all just leave that like it is. And I'm just thinking there's lots of problematic natures in the text that aren't resolved. I feel like there's a lack of resolution there. And I think that a lot of that lack of resolution comes from this genre bending that the text does. It almost seems to not know what kind of play it is. And I was thinking at the beginning that three authors could, too many cooks spoil the meal, isn't it? One of those things. That three authors may be a few too many authors. And I think at the end, from reading it, that's where the unsatisfying ending comes from. It comes from too many people writing it.
It could be, but then we have seen other plays that do sort of, there is a sort of a bigger disconnect between, sort of scenes and acts. And so, for those that have scenes and acts, but also sort of some that do actually branch, like, I don't know, Beaumont and Fletcher kind of thing, where they actually complement each other pretty well and you can't tell. I don't know, maybe they just sort of, maybe it was a pastiche, as Alan did say several times, or maybe not, I don't know. Maybe they had one per character or something, which is what I would do. I mean, personally, if I was co-writing with someone, I would probably just pick a character and go, yeah, I'm going to follow this thread, and then you follow the other thread, and then, yeah. Also, when did Sir Anthony end up in Spain? Alexandra is scratching her head now.
Yeah. So I have, as I have repeatedly said, not having had the first part of this play, I have nothing to compare it to and sort of look at the end and go, this is terrible, this has ruined everything. So from that perspective, it doesn't actually seem that terrible. It seems like sort of let us tie the plot threads together and leave some hooks in case anybody wants to commission us to write the sequel. kind of attitude. And it feels to me like a really it's definitely leaning, as Alan pointed out, it seems to be leaning into all the things that are selling right this week, but potentially in a sort of big adventure type story way. Like I don't get the impression that it doesn't know what genre it is. I get the impression that it's being Pirates of the Caribbean or something. The Star Wars might be taking it too far, but this idea of it's a genre that has existed and not been a massive success necessarily, or is just becoming a massive success, and we are pushing all the right buttons in order to make this sell lots and require merchandise and lots of sequels and what have you. And in that way, I think potentially because of, or maybe contributing with the positive representations, or at least the not horrendous representations of foreign heads of state, they're giving themselves the chance to not really offend anybody and yet make an interesting story that they can then continue pursuing avenues to make money off of.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of like with the well, I mean, we talked about, like yesterday we were talking about a place like the metal plays, the age plays that were a bit longer and episodic in between. Like, I mean, we had trouble tying stuff in. But then for this session, I was thinking more of like the Shoemaker's Holiday, which has like, you have history, it has a thing, but then the history doesn't really matter. Because you're following the main character, who is the shoemaker, and his kind of entourage, basically, which seemed like an ensemble play, and it was fun and all that stuff. And this one actually reminds me of that, because it is kind of that thing of, look, we have famous people. These people, the Shirley Brothers, which sounds like a jazz band, and sort of. Yeah, or like, I don't know, like a Thomas Stukely type thing, or that kind of level of fiction in history, but not. I don't know.
Yeah, last week AD, capitalizing on recent exciting events, and on the Shirleys and also Kemp. Just everyone, and to be fair, people might even recognize people at court and so on might even recognize not the person of, but who is being represented by the Turk and the Sophy.
Yeah, definitely. Any other thoughts before we wrap up? Or no? I'm just wondering, as a final thought for myself, before we I'm just wondering if played at pace this would work, because we've been starting as we usually do for these first looks. So maybe at pace it would sort of actually pick up, and like with comedies where you don't really have to worry about plot, because okay, maybe there isn't one, but played at fast enough speed, it would be like, hey, let's dabble in international politics with the Shirley brothers, but maybe not quite like that. I don't know. Yeah. Any counterpoints? I'm trying to defend the play. I know. Yeah. Okay. Alexandra has a thought again.
Yeah, not exactly a counterpoint. I'm with you on the defending of the play. I think perhaps there is something in this, and if you wanted to put it on as a contemporary performance, there might be ways of reducing or removing the utter racism and religious problematicness, because not all of the representations of any of the faiths are completely positive or completely negative, except for the one terrible Jewish person.
Yes.
So with the other ones, you can actually play with more of a palette, and frame it right. And those things are not actually problematic. They're really interesting as the ways in which this discourse and these kind of discussions, as it were, happen in a contemporary context.
Yeah. I think also it's very much that thing of well, like, I have to admit that when I got sent the play, and I found out which play we're doing, this is the cast list, the Turks and stuff, and the Persians and that kind of thing, I was thinking, oh no, this is another play we won't be able to put on at pace or whatever, or in a modern context. But I don't know. Maybe we could. If you have any ideas, either right now or on in the comments, people. Yeah, please, maybe.
Anyone
Yeah.
would love to produce this play. We would be very happy to take your money. I mean,
They're not supposed to know. No, well, yeah, I guess they are.
It could be on the ashtray.
Yeah. Anyway, on that note, I would like to thank these wonderful readers for their wonderful reading. And my wife can play.